We've hosted a number of Centre of Excellence roundtables, and there was so much value, so many insights, and you'll find those captured in our app.inspiringexcellence.cloud. But I thought we'd try and pull some insights from 6 of those experts together for a short session for you. But first, we need to think about what a Centre of Excellence means, just to level set it. So we think about it as 13 pillars, and you can see on the left-hand side the list of the activities. And before you say, but I can't have a Centre of Excellence because I don't have 13 people, these are skills, not roles. So these are the different skills that you need to have in place amongst your team. So the second thing is it's phased. That means that you don't need to have every single one of these capabilities in place from day one, but by the time you have a sophisticated enterprise level implementation of Salesforce, then you clearly need the majority of these in place. And finally, these are solved problems. This is not something that you need to try and make up from first principles. Some of us have been around IT for 20, 30 years, and the principle of a Centre of Excellence has been true whether you're thinking about SAP, Oracle, custom systems, but now Salesforce. And 10K Advisors researched some 300 customers, and they discovered that those with the highest return on investment had a Centre of Excellence in place. So there clearly is a business case and a justification for establishing your Centre of Excellence. Now, I said that this could be phased. And if you look at this chart, if you're a small organization, now that doesn't mean necessarily small in number of people, but small in terms of sophistication, you don't need to have all of these in place. So if there's a white dot, you don't necessarily need it, but if there's a red dot, you absolutely do need it. If you look at the right-hand side, when we consider you to be a large organization, by large, I mean sophisticated enterprise use of Salesforce. So you could be a relatively small organization, like an investment bank or wealth manager, where you don't have very many people, but due to compliance, due to the nature of your Salesforce usage, you need to be considered large. And as you can see on the right-hand side, if you are large, then you need to have every single one of those pillars in place. Now, you can find out more about the Centre of Excellence at the end of this short session. There's a series of resources. But what I really want to do now is turn it over to our 6 experts and get some insights from them.
Yeah, I think for us, it was an instance of a little big bang because our COE was created as a result of a really large acquisition. So NTT Data bought Dell Services. And so we had to figure out rather quickly what we were going to do for this really combined organization that became NTT Data Services together. And so we really quickly figured out that to have a successful implementation of Salesforce, it was going to require all of those things that you detailed, all of those skills. And so we definitely identified we needed the COE to be stood up immediately, and it needed most of those things immediately, including the change control and the governance right away. Right, we needed that all of the documentation immediately, so that we had everything to look back on from day one.
It's really enforcing the cross-functional collaboration. You've heard me mention cross-functional a number of times. Cannot be more important to really identify the level of commitment that's required across the entire organization, and really, the accountability, right? It's who's accountable for what. How are we measuring those successes, the value, and at the end of the day, even the deliverables, right? Are we on mark, on target, so that we're communicating, we're setting the proper internal organizational expectations based on the tools and the technology that's being delivered. I think the last comment I like to share, and I'll echo this, it's less about the technology, but more about the business process, and the people.
I think it's a push of Salesforce. Salesforce is when we implemented, it's an enterprise system that's living, that's changing. They have 3 releases a year. It's focused on the front office. So you have sales, marketing, customer care. All those organizations are always changing the way they're interacting with the customer. So I think the platform itself requires a center of excellence that you could keep up with the opportunities that you have to service your customers better constantly.
Incremental regular change to the business and adding ongoing business value quickly, right, in the fastest time possible. It's a way of ensuring that business and IT become one in kind of steering and governance, and they kind of get rid of those historic silos, Ian. That's what that, and when you've been in business, I've been in IT 25 years, right? I grew up in all capital markets, actually done a little bit of insurance, but mostly in the capital markets. And, the days of IT in their dark basements and the business in their shiny sales floors, that has gone. And I think the gaps, I think if it's anything, right, it's just to get rid of the silos, right? It's about incremental change fast. It's about bringing people together, to work together on a problem or an opportunity or innovation, and to deliver in this, as people are saying, this rapidly evolving digital world.
The executive support, the executive alignment at the top, right? So getting organizations and different business units to agree is very difficult. There has to be a guiding mission. There's got to be a strong executive voice in the room saying, we will do this. If you guys don't agree, bring it to me, I'll help make the decision. So I think the executive alignment, and then of course, exactly to your point, the change management and everything underneath, advocates that use the system that are involved throughout the program to evangelize Salesforce. We find a lot of organizations, especially sales organizations, they think of it as big brother. I don't want to record what I'm doing because, I'm a good salesperson. I don't need to do it. But it's more about how does it help you sell more and keep organized and grow the business. So there's all that kind of communication that's really important. So ground up and then top down.
I think for me, the COE encompasses the industry standard of all the people, processes, and the tools around Salesforce, right? Because it has to be the intake mechanism for all of our enhancements, projects, as well as all the governance, the DevOps, all of the things that encompass Salesforce and all the integrations we have with it. So it's all of the processes and the tools, but then the team that supports it. And not just my team that reports to me that technically supports Salesforce, but the business that supports it, that provides us with the requirements and, ultimately the chain of, leadership that also sponsors it, approves it, provides us with funding. All of those people are part of our COE and the ecosystem that is Salesforce. So
if I had one or two choices in the environment I'm in now, given the scale and the growth, starting with a program management office in essentially driving a framework around how we're executing against digital transformation cross-functional initiatives is bar none extremely urgent. It's critical to our business. We want to make sure that we're making the right investments and we're getting the ROI. Second to that is change management. And I put change management and governance kind of in the same bucket, if you will, right? We need to understand what the impact to not only the organization, but to the process, right? And to the people, and ensure that we are educating even more so today, right? Because we are in this highly, disparate working environment, right? You don't have the user doesn't have has less of a flexibility to go over to a colleague and say, hey, can you help me out with this? They just rolled out this new workflow. I can't figure it out, right? We're removing that. So we've got to pay special attention to ensuring that we're educating, training, and enabling our employees against change management.
When she first came in, the first thing she had to do was figure out how to stop the bleeding, because there were bugs, there were issues, there was pain. There wasn't time to go hire new staff. Like, there was immediate things that she needed to go fix right then and there, because it was stopping the backlog of everything else that they wanted to do. So the first thing that I think you got to do is leverage elements, do some rep rides, figure out what's going on right now and fix those things, and then start looking at that backlog and figuring out where you're going to start adding the most value. To me, it's these basic steps that if you're walking into a brand new COE, brand new clients from my side, if I'm as a consultant hat on, let's stop the bleeding so we can move in and start getting real value out of this platform that you're missing.
And I'll be quick to say it's okay to stop, right? If everything's on fire and everything's a disaster, it's okay to stop for a second and get everybody together, build your COE, build your plan, talk about your strategy, what's working, what's not working. DevOps is a great example of that, where we see DevOps off the rails. One of our clients is very big in custom software development and takes the same DevOps methodology, applies it to Salesforce, and it blows up. And releases take weeks to prepare, and they have tons of bugs and defects and all this other stuff. It's okay to stop. Like, raise your hand and say, we need to pause for a second, collect, what's working, what's not working, and let's redo this. Let's rethink this and get it straight. Because if you're putting out fires all the time, you're not bringing the value. You're not bringing, what you really need to bring to the business. It's so important to sometimes pause and think about it.
I had 8 people working for me in that role, and they decided that we would reorg and assign everybody with the under the quote unquote COE umbrella to me. And so my team became 11. And that's when I started the COE journey for real, what I would call it. We started then knocking off the things that were on your list of your pillar list there. And now I think we're probably, after almost 3 years, almost a large. We still don't do prototyping. We may not do 1 or 2 of the other items in your list. I know our PMO function within the COE is still very, very small, but we do have an intake process. Most of the other things that we have in place have happened in the last 3 years. So it's completely different than it was when we started this process in earnest. We now have a framework, a governance process, tooling we've added. We grew from 11 to, before the pandemic, 85 resources, split shore staffing model. We've partnered with Accenture for our technical resources, and really have put everything in place since then. All of our teams, we're back down now since the pandemic to about 40 to 45 resources, basically in a keep the lights on mode, waiting for more funding to start coming through as hospitality starts to pick back up. And yeah, but everything has changed. I mean, we started off, like I said, far left of your slide, probably small, and now we're somewhere close to large, with implementing consistent processes, tool sets, the governance process, our entire SDLC.
The most important thing is to just start, right? If you get an analysis paralysis, you're going to go nowhere. And I think just take that first step and start something, because whether you're in IT or whether you're part of the business and you're responsible for standing up a COE, or nobody even knows it's needed except you, and you just think it's needed, take the step, try standing it up, because it's worth it. And I would do it as soon as possible and as quickly as you can. It will help your implementation no matter what, and it will increase visibility to you personally. It will increase visibility to your implementation. It will help, decrease your technical debt. It will help you map out your processes. It will help you in all sorts of ways you didn't even realize, but you got to take the first step, right? You just have to do it. And your business will look to you for leadership and expertise on how should we do it? What is the methodology we need to use? And so, start somewhere, but don't just get stuck.